caught me.
We did it.
Hello.
Glory to God, we made it again.
Mm-hmm. Here we are. Here we are. Back at it again.
We're doing it.
Yeah. Oh,
back in the saddle.
Yeah, cool. Oh yeah, you put the Ko-Fi link in. Cool.
Yeah, I kept forgetting about it. I'll put it up every once in a while.
Yeah. I watched a recent video with Nate and JD Lionheart, I think his name is. And there was a like and subscribe banner that someone activated.
Yeah.
And, it came on for, in the beginning, and then it just never shut off. And the whole, it was so annoying. I had to go away from the conversation because it was constantly popping up, like and subscribe,
Oh, yeah.
And it was said powered by StreamYard underneath of it. So I saw that. Hey, hi, Tim. Grüß Gott. I saw that and I thought, I got to tell Jeremy, don't use that.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, it was just awful.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
No, I'll throw in a Ko-Fi one every once in a while, but that's about it.
Yeah. But I will say, please like and subscribe and help to grow our channel. I think
if you want.
Well, no, actually, I really want them to, because I think we're doing a good thing here. I would like people to know more about the saints.
Yeah.
And to be able to enjoy the Heliand. So
that's true.
I'm going to be really boomerish and say, I could do it because I'm there. I might as well use my my stereotype.
Yeah, there you go.
It's kind of like when I go to a mechanic. I always play the dumb blonde. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. My car is all broken and stuff. Things are happening. I don't understand it.
Well, you know what? I had to go recently because I had to go to this guy. We don't have any muffler stores anymore in our whole town. I'm like, what the? Because this town is like truck drivers, log truck drivers, tree planters. It's pickups and, it's just trucks and trucks.
Yeah.
What are they doing when they don't, But anyway, I going back to my tent, I had to bring a bunch of stuff back there several times. Usually when I go back there, I'm bringing some, cream for my coffee and something to snack on and a couple of books and, So I drove back with my Prius, and it's just a rabbit trail, like through the bush. So I'm just like, stay high, stay high. And then all of a sudden I heard crunch, and I was like,
oh, oopsie.
And I completely, like, 2 of my brackets on my muffler just gone, and one of them was just hanging there.
Oh.
So I had to get them welded back on. I said to the guy, and I didn't play dumb. I went in there and I said, look, I live in Meldrum Creek. He goes, because our road is so notoriously bad. And I said, and my car doesn't make any apologies for itself. My front bumper's all broken.
Yeah.
And then I've got this aftermarket rear bumper because a tow truck pulled my daughter out of the ditch by the back end of my Prius, which you can't do.
Right.
Ripped it off. And so anyway, I got this aftermarket bumper on there and it's popping off. So I got red duct tape.
Nice. That's good. Yeah.
And I was in Olympia at that Northwest Estuary, and I was standing out in front of, like, getting out of my car on this busy road. And I saw, and my Prius is red too. And for the longest time, it was silver duct tape holding that thing on. And then my husband decided, oh, let's put the red stuff on there. It'll blend in.
Be a little closer. Yeah.
Anyway, and I was standing there and I saw this red Prius go by, caught my eye. And then I was like, wait a minute. It had silver duct tape and the same spot holding up probably an aftermarket bumper.
Yeah. Well, a little glitch in the matrix there.
Yeah.
The procedural generation
That's
accidentally copied
hilarious.
too. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, or maybe I was just watching. It was like Back to the Future. I was
Yeah,
watching
right.
myself
Your
go.
own in own time. Yeah, you're looping.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be wild?
yeah. No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I started before we jumped on. I started telling
Mm,
you about Daniel from the OG Rose channel.
yeah.
So I was first made aware of him through Jonathan Demere's clips. You know,
Mm,
Jonathan and his clips.
yep.
And he he caught my attention because I just loved a lot of things that he was talking about. And he has this, if you go on there, Jeremy, the book that he wrote is called The Map is Indestructible. That's what him and C Money were talking about in that conversation when you
Yep.
watched it.
Caught that. Yeah.
And he has these readings from the book, and there's one called, and I think there's a playlist for that book, The Map is Indestructible.
Hmm.
And there's one video there, and if anybody's listening, I recommend it. It's called the rational is not the true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. So, anyway, if I happen to catch one of his premieres or whatever, usually it's early in the morning for me, so I'll just hang out there and have my coffee and chat it up with him. He's really
Yeah,
good.
and I enjoyed the video you shared with me. The one where he was talking about the map is indestructible with C Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really great. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. I had it connected with a lot of things I've been thinking about and reading about recently. So it
Right.
was really good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions that C Money kept I think it was the only question he kept asking over and over was, how do we make people see this? How do we and I just finished it up before I jumped on here, and I wrote in the comments, I said, the only way that the how question that you keep asking is only accomplished through God-oriented ritual, which changes the way you pay attention.
Yes. Yep.
That was the lesson to me. Like the Holy Spirit taught me this while walking with my goats many years ago. I always condense it with my blueberry story, when I believed that there were no blueberries on my property. And then one day I looked down and I saw a bunch of blueberries.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Then I saw them everywhere, and
right. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And here's the thing. Before when I was walking on my property, but I wasn't walking with my goats. There's a reason that Christ is called the Good Shepherd. There's a reason that King David was a shepherd and was so poetic. Because when you're shepherding, you have to sit down and do nothing except pay attention.
Yep. But it's not like demanding attention. It's like mild attention. It's just
meandering,
enough.
actually.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the thing you're doing, you're meandering like physically with the goats, but then you sit down and your mind continues the wander, right? So you look at this and then you look at that and then you realize, oh, there's so many mosquitoes. Why are there? Oh, look, there's a spring over there. Oh, let's go see the spring. Oh, look, there's that. And because everything is connected, it's not by chance that you're sitting in a swarm of mosquitoes when there's a spring next to you.
Right.
Right. And then it shouldn't be any surprise to you that the spring is surrounded by dogwoods. And then it shouldn't be any surprise to you that, that some of the fir trees are dead because they got too much water, so they died. Like, and then everything just starts going, it's like a chain of events. And when that happens, it's a treasure hunt, Jeremy. That's what it feels like. It's a treasure hunt.
Way to think of it. Yeah.
And it got to the point that I couldn't wait to get my everyday stuff done in the house, so that and I took it on myself as part of my chores. I had to justify it to the little red conscientiousness devil on my shoulder.
Yes.
And I'd be like, I'm going to walk with the goats now. I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was always so excited by it because it just became so thrilling. It was thrilling. And I don't even know how, like, I can't transfer the thrill to you people. Like, like,
Right.
it would sound mundane,
Yeah.
So I
Well,
noticed blueberries, big deal.
no. Well, there's two things that tie for me for that. One is when my grandmother taught me how to find arrowheads. Same thing. Couldn't see them. Then she pointed at one, and then all of a sudden you can see them.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, though, was the idea that the whole concept of causality, I think, is kind of not real. Like, not. It's kind of fraught with hubris, I think, right? Because, like you were saying, it's like this is tied to this, is tied to this, is tied to this. It's like, what caused what, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, the world doesn't work like that. It's there was this one example. I remember one specific morning, my car was broken or something, and my brother said, hey, you can borrow my car if you want. So it was my old pickup wasn't running. My brother was like, hey, I know you're going this place, you can borrow my car. And he had a nice car, so I got in his car and I was like, oh, it's nice. And I was like, I should call my aunt, because I normally can't call her when I'm driving my truck because it's too loud, but now that I'm in a car, I feel like I should call her. So I called her, and she was just like, why did you call me? And I was like, well, I don't know. I just had a feeling I should call you. And she was like, well, and she was asking me some questions, and she was going through some difficult times in her her husband was not my uncle, but she had remarried. She was a widow, and she had remarried. So it was her second husband, and he's going through dementia. So she was struggling with that, and we were talking about it. And then she asked me, she was like, why did you call? And I was like, I don't know. I just had a feeling I should. And she was like, I was just praying that God would help me because I didn't know what to do.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, why did I call? Well, because my truck was broken down and I was in my brother's car and I had some time, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, what caused what? There's no going,
exactly.
And my car had broken down 2 days before, and what caused that, and what, like.
And your brother's vehicle was available.
Yeah, and it was there, and
he
offered it to me, and that's the only time he's ever done that. It's just.
And so Jeremy, her prayer
And it
was
go ahead.
Prayer was being answered for days beforehand.
Yes. All these things were lining up. So I would.
She hadn't even prayed yet.
Yeah.
So did her prayers cause all that? Yeah, but
she participated in it.
She participated in timelessness.
Because we were all participating in our own way, right? And God is co-participating with us. He's
beautiful.
Co-interacting. Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. But it was another one of those experiences of like, causality is kind of like not.
Yeah.
It's kind of pointless to think about.
Well, I mean, I think some great philosopher said, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
The old cliches,
Yeah. Well, and all the evolutionary scientists go, the egg, of course, because there were eggs before there was a chicken. Because the egg is a much simpler. Okay. Sorry.
What do you think? I have a question, because I was going to write this in the comments there. And it's not just in their conversation. I hear it in a lot of good faith conversations. And there's something about it that I am reticent about. Let me ask you the question first before I start to explain myself.
Okay.
What do you think of framing symbolic, mythological, analogical stories like the ones we find in the Bible in light of evolution? And I'm not asking you if evolution is true,
Right.
but my question is, what do you think about framing those stories within the framework of evolution? Because that's what it looks like to me.
To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's a category error, in my
Right.
opinion.
Thank
Right.
you.
So there's the Bible is not how things were made. The Bible is why things were made
Mhm.
and what they mean in relation to each other. Right. The Bible's laying out a hierarchy basically of being, and evolution is trying to figure out how it happened and when and how long it took. And that's just not, those are two different questions completely. You know, it's a qualitative versus quantitative kind of view, in my
There you
opinion.
go. Yeah. Tim says doesn't work, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I think it's just trying to smash two things together that are only tangentially related.
Okay,
if at
so
all.
and that's the problem I have with it, because I tend to be more of a watcher of human behavior. I don't know what
Mhm.
you'd call that. And what I'm seeing is an attempt to rationalize something that is irrational. Okay.
Mhm.
So you know, you're like you said, it's a category. You've already put your foot in the wrong, like you've already stepped in the cow pie. Right.
Yeah, you've already accepted the framing of empiricism,
Right.
and then
And
you're trying to smash the Bible into it, and it's just,
right.
it doesn't
Right.
work. If Christianity in America taught us anything in the 20th century, it's that religion can't fight science on science's terms, and it shouldn't. It's a pointless argument. It's
Well, that's not
it's
why it exists in the first place. Like, it's not there.
right,
God isn't out to prove his existence. If he was, we would have known about it long ago, and we wouldn't have believed it.
right.
So,
Yeah. No,
what's the
it's
point?
just, yeah. I think it's, yeah. I just don't think it's a useful comparison or useful even like a useful juxtaposition. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I see why people do it, because I think it's the first baby steps out of the rational, right? Out of that thinking about things logically, rationally, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still ordering underneath this, like you said, empirical hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of being. And yeah, so I think like I think you have to walk out into nothingness. Like you have to throw yourself into everything that you don't know. Like, don't talk about what you know,
Mm-hmm.
and don't try to make what you're learning to know or encountering, let's say, fit into what you know. Just leave all that behind
Right.
and just encounter it for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So
Yep.
that's what bothers me about bringing it with you. It's like bringing your suitcase, right? I've got
It's
my
like Lot's wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're being saved. You're being rescued from a city that's burning, and you're looking back with nostalgia.
Oh, there you go. That's good, Jeremy. You're smart.
No.
No, that
No.
was really
I
I didn't even put
no.
those two together, but you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I've done it. Right. So
Me too. Oh yeah,
I've
me
done that.
too.
I've been Lot's wife, where it was
Yeah.
like, I'm in a confusing place. I don't know up from down. I don't know right from left, but I do know what's behind me.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's probably better. And then you just look back,
Yeah, and
so
it's very childish,
yeah.
right? Which is I think they referred to that too in the conversation, where when I was a child, I spoke as a child, and now I, put away
Mm-hmm.
childish things. There's a difference for me anyway between childish and childlikeness, but yeah, and this is how I perceive the whole idea of missing the mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
A child strives to be the adult, but the legs are not long enough, the experience isn't long enough, all that kind of thing. For the child actually to be the adult, they have to get there. And every attempt they make until then is going to be, not, they're going to miss their target because
Mm-hmm.
they're not there yet, right? They're still children.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, what does Mandy say here? Tearing apart the snowdrop, but missing the suffering hope and pale confidence submission for the sake of that which that darling of the spring. Yeah, exactly. That's this. She's talking here about George MacDonald's imagination essay. He says that science can tear apart the snowdrop, which is a little flower that pops out of the snow in Europe with this little droopy head. Okay. So it's very delicate, actually, and it's crazy because it comes out of the snow in the early spring.
Wow.
Tearing apart the snowdrop, but missing the suffering hope and pale confident submission for the sake of which that darling of the spring looks out of heaven. That is what George MacDonald sees when he sees the snowdrop. He sees suffering hope and pale confident submission.
Yep. I was writing a going away letter for my daughter today, and in there I one of the analogies I used was a bonsai tree, right? Like you are a little bonsai tree, and you've been allowed to grow for a while, but now you're going to start being pruned and twisted and pulled and tugged and wired down and cut off and starved of nutrition and starved of water, and you're going to have rocky soil sometimes, and all of this, it's going to be painful, but you are being shaped into a beautiful work of art by the master gardener, and your whole call is to learn to be patient with that shaping, because you can't even really control it. I mean, you can, to a degree, you can participate in it, but it's more like through submission and through accepting and through patience. And there's beauty that comes with it, right? It's not like it's all suffering. You do occasionally catch a fish with a gold coin in its mouth, but for the most part, you're longing and you're yearning and you don't know why it hurts. But the gardener does.
Right.
He knows what you're going to look like.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be patient, and be patient with yourself too. Because I said you also are not going to have a mirror. You won't see yourself as you're going through this process. Because if you did, you would either go, "Wow, I'm not a beautiful tree at all," or you would go, "Wow, I'm a beautiful tree." And both of those are missing the mark, right? Both of those are a distraction, because all you're supposed to do is just be patient and grow.
Yeah, and what I would also say to that, thanks to Douglas Harding, is that what you're looking at in the mirror is a representation of the tree. It isn't the tree. The tree is only the tree through all of the severe pruning, turning, twisting, wiring down that it's been through. That's the tree.
Yeah.
What you're looking at is, that's what Harding says, right?
Yeah.
Not that's what he says, what you're looking at is death. What you are is not.
Yeah.
It's life.
That's
right?
nice. Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess we got to get started.
Yeah. Otherwise, people will strike.
Yeah. And I do have to say right at the beginning before I forget, I will not be available next week. I have parish council meeting, so
okay.
I won't be able to do this next week. So I do have a prayer. I will bring up the prayer. Oh, hide that. Maybe hide that. Come on. No, I won't hide that. Oh, okay. Doesn't matter. Illumine our hearts, O Master, who lovest mankind, with the pure light of thy divine knowledge. Open the eyes of our mind to the understanding of thy gospel teachings, and plant also in us the fear of thy blessed commandments, that trampling down all carnal desires, we may enter upon a spiritual manner of living, both thinking and doing such things as are well-pleasing unto thee. For thou art the illumination of our souls and bodies, O Christ our God. And unto thee we ascribe glory, together with thy Father, who is from everlasting, and thine all good and life-giving Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen.
Amen.
And now I will pull up the Heliand. Where is it? Come on. I'll put this over here. Still noobing it up. Still learning for the first time how to do this. Every week is a new experience of learning how to do it all over again. Okay. I think we were on song 46.
Yeah.
Christ praises the small gift to the shrine of the woman fated to poverty. He advises Thanes to pay the emperor's taxes. He stood there in front of the shrine, Christ the ruler, the beloved guardian of the country, and noted the mindset and will of the people. He saw many people bringing jewels to that famous house, making donations of silken cloths and precious ornaments. Christ the chieftain watched all of that wisely. Then a widow also came, a woman fated to poverty. Well, let me make this full screen. There we go. Then a widow also came, a woman fated to poverty. She went to the altar and put 2 bronze coins in the treasury. She was a person of uncomplicated mind, of good will. At that, the ruling Christ spoke to his followers and said that she had brought a much greater gift than any other son of mankind. Whenever people of property bring presents here, many jewel hoards, they leave more at home of the wealth they have won. This woman did not do that. She gave to this altar all the wealth she had won. She left no other wealth home in her house. Her gift is worth more to the ruler because she did it with such a will for this house of God. For this she will be repaid with the very long-lasting reward for having such faith. So I have heard it told, Christ the ruler, chieftain of mankind, taught wisdom with words every day at the shrine. People stood around, the great Jewish people. They listened to the good and sweet words he spoke. Some of the men in the crowd were very fortunate in that the words started to stay in their feelings. They learned the teachings which the country's guardian, the chieftain's son, taught entirely by images. To some again, the ruler's message, the teachings of Christ, were very loathsome. All of those who were highest in the leadership, the princes of the people, were opposed in their minds to those teachings. They thought out verbal traps for him, and they brought in a troublemaker from the leading man, a Thane of Herod, to help them. He was present, standing there with evil intent. He wanted to overhear their conversation to see if his people could capture Christ and put him in chains and leg and arm irons, the sinless one. Then he and his bitter-minded warrior companions, evil adversaries, strode up to Christ to speak words with God's Son.
The scribes and Pharisees were remade into Germanic warriors challenging Christ to combat. The combat is clearly kept verbal, however. there is no attempt to put a sword into Christ's hands. The author manages to make rabbinic disputations about the application of the law into Germanic challenges, but does not alter the subject matter of the disputation.
Well, now, they said, you are a law speaker. You teach all peoples a great deal of truth, and for you it is something unworthy to conceal anything from a man because of his authority. On the contrary, you always say what is right, and you lead the warrior company of mankind along God's road by your teachings. Not a person among the people can find anything to blame you with. Now we will question you. Mighty commander, what right does the emperor of Rome have to look for tax payments to himself from this clan here, and to determine every year how much money we are to pay as a head tax? Say what you think about this. What is your attitude? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay.
I missed it.
So this is the third time that a head tax has been introduced into the Heliand. The first in Song 5, where Joseph and Mary face the carefully writing tax scribes on their way to Bethlehem. The second in Song 39, where Peter and Christ are accosted by the arrogant tax collector, and the author clearly shows his sympathy for the taxed. But again, as in Song 46, advises payment of the head tax. It seems clear from this repetition that some Carolingian head tax is in the background, one liable to an annual tax hike. It may also be significant in this regard that in this song, as in Song 39, there is no mention of Jewish religious authorities, and the questioners are kept secular.
Say what you think about this. What is your attitude? Is it right or not? Advise your fellow countrymen well. We need your teaching. They wanted him to say no to it, but he was well able to recognize their bad faith. Why are you pretending to tell the truth, he said, and tempting me so boldly? It will do you no good, you deceivers, to try to catch me through deception. He asked that the coins be brought out in order to look at them, the ones you owe for that payment. Jesus took out a silver piece.
Jews.
Many looked.
It says
Jews, sorry. Jews took out a silver piece. Many looked and saw how it was minted. In the middle of the front face was the emperor's image. That they recognized well, the picture of their Lord's head. Then the Holy Christ questioned them about who the person was of whom the stamped image had been made. They said that it was the emperor of the world from Fort Rome, who has authority on earth over this entire realm. Then I will tell you myself, in all truth, he said, that you give him what is his. Give the world lord his money, and give the ruling God what is his, and that should be your souls, your human spirits. The Jews' intentions were ruined by what he said. The wicked troublemakers could not win with words. That was what they had wanted, to entrap him, because God's child of peace defended himself against their hostile attacks, and in return told them the truth spell, even though they were not so fortunate as to be able to accept it so that it could be of benefit to them. Before I go on, I just wanted to go back to that one little phrase. I loved it so much, where he just said, yeah, people stood around, the great Jewish people. They listened to the good and sweet words he spoke. Some of the men in the crowd were very fortunate in that the words started to stay in their feelings. They learned the teachings which the country's guardian, the chieftain's son, taught entirely by images.
I know. That stuck out to me. Exactly.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. Really good.
Song 47, Christ the champion protects the life spirit of the woman caught in adultery. They would not leave off, however, and instead they ordered a woman brought out in front of the people. She had done something wrong, a crime pure and simple. The woman had been caught in adultery. She was under the death penalty. The sons of men were to take away her life spirit and end her days. That is what was written in their law. Those bold and twisted people began to ask him with their words what they should do with this woman, whether they should torture her to death or leave her alive. What would his verdict be after such a deed? You are aware, they said, that Moses commanded these many people in truthful words that any woman found in adultery forfeits her life, and that people are to throw heavy stones at her with their hands. Now you can see her standing here caught in sin. Say what you want done. These opponents of his wanted to trap him in his words. If he said that they should let her live her life in peace, then the Jewish people would say that he was contradicting their ancestral law, the law of the land. If he told them to take the young woman's life right there before the people, then they would say that he did not have the kind and generous attitude of heart which God's Son should have. In this way, they intended to punish Holy Christ for his words, no matter which of the two verdicts he pronounced before the people. Christ the chieftain knew very well their attitudes and feelings, their hostile intentions. He spoke then to the people, to all the earls. Whoever of you is without evil sin, he said, you go up to her yourself, and you be the first earl to throw a stone at her with your hands. The Jews stood there silently in thought. Not a single thing could think of any reply to what Christ had said. Each man was thinking of his own sins, his evil-mindedness. None of them was so sure of himself that after these words he would dare throw a stone at the woman. They left her standing alone there inside, and the fiercely hostile Jews went out of there, one after the other, until there was not a single one of the enemy left who wanted to take away the woman's life spirit and bring an end to her days. Then I heard it told that God's peace child, the best of all persons, asked her, where did the Jewish people go? He said, your opponents who accused you here to me. Did those people who wanted to torture you horribly and take your life do any harm or injury to you today? The woman spoke to him in reply and said that because of the rescuer's help, no one had done any harm to her to repay her for her crime. Then Christ, the ruler, chieftain of human beings, spoke again. I too will not hurt you in any way, he said. Leave here hale and well. Take care after this in your mind, not to become sinful in this way ever again. The Holy Son of God had helped her. He protected her life spirit.
In this song, Christ has acted as a Germanic champion, defending an accused person by taking up cause in combat. This method of reaching a verdict or of settling a battle before the armies attacked each other was a part of ancient Germanic custom and law. Charlemagne himself used it whenever he could not determine which of the two parties was telling the truth in a legal case. Furthermore, the author has expressed the dishonorableness of the Pharisees in Germanic terms. Though it is one person whom the authorities have brought in to act as troublemaker and to challenge Christ, when he advances on Christ for honorable single-man combat, the troublemaker comes with his warrior companions. Christ never uses or is made to mention his, but wins the unfair fight anyway. And the Fiendesfolk, enemy forces, withdraw. In the High Middle Ages, this scene might have been read with delight, as Christ, the word-wise warrior who rescued the damsel in distress, albeit brought on by herself.
I also like how he took a paragraph there to explain the context of the dilemma that was put before Christ. You know, that's one thing I'm enjoying about the Heliand, where he's providing more of this kind of cultural context.
Yeah, you know, when you were in that, I was thinking, I wonder if he had to do that because their custom would be, well, if she doesn't want to be with that guy, she can be with that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have a feeling it was a little looser in those, departments.
Yeah, that could be. And then also I was thinking of just knowing that it was Moses's law and that Moses was a great teacher, and that basically Christ is being tested with the law, with Moses, who everybody accepts as a prophet. Right. So it's like they're going to see how he can
manage
how
it.
he can manage it. He's been, placed with it. It's like the two women, the two prostitutes, and the one baby kind of thing again, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how is he going to save this? And he does. He doesn't accept the false dilemma. Oh yeah. The people were divided in two over their faith. The little people were much gladder to obey the word of God's Son. They strove for right much more than the powerful people did. They held him for their Lord, even for King of Heaven, and were glad to follow him.
This paragraph is an insertion by the author. It serves as a justification for the presence of both very positive and very negative characterizations of the Jews in the text. I notice he's doing this a lot, which is really cool.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the fact that the division is explained in sociological terms rather than moral ones suggests very strongly that this paragraph is intended as comment on the success and lack of success of the missionary effort in Saxony.
Interesting. The positive, very positive and very negative characterizations reminded me of this little exchange I saw today where someone was like, Jesus was a Jew, and someone responded and said, yeah, Judas was also a Jew. Like, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so what do
both
we
extremes there. Yeah. Well, okay. Neat.
Yeah.
So anyway, then God's Son went inside the shrine. A great number of people, an enormous throng, surrounded him. He stood in the middle of the crowd and taught the people with words of light in a loud voice. Many a thane stood in silence. They were all ears as he invited the people. Anyone there might be suffering from thirst. Let him come every day to me to drink, he said, from the sweet water spring. I can tell you, whoever here among the people, sons of men, firmly believes in me, from him will flow from his body a living flood, running water welling up powerfully. From him will come the waters of life. These words will come true. They will be done for any person here who believes in me. What the ruling Christ, High King of Heaven, meant by the water was the Holy Spirit. He meant how the sons of men were to receive the Spirit, light and insight and life forever, the high kingdom of heaven and the graciousness of God. Song 48, dissension over Christ's teaching. Martha and Mary sin for him. Thomas accepts a warrior's fate. Then the people began to quarrel over the teachings and words of Christ. Arrogant Jews stood there. Their feelings were running high. They were saying very insulting things and holding him up to ridicule. They said that they could hear quite well that evil little creatures, hateful things, were speaking out of his mouth. Since he teaches evil, they said, with every word. However, there were other people who said, how dare you criticize the teacher? Life's words are what come powerfully from his mouth. He does many wonderful things in this world, and those things are not done by the power of the hateful enemies. Otherwise, they would never be of such benefit. On the contrary, they come directly from God, the all-ruler, from his power. You can recognize that easily by his true words that he has authority over all the earth. Can you hear the lawnmower? Is it really annoying? I can close the door.
No, I don't hear it at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good use of AI, I guess. At that, the opponents wanted to capture him there on the spot and throw stones at him. If they had not been afraid of the many men there and been intimidated by the crowd of people, then God's peace child spoke. I have shown you so much from God himself, he said, in words and in works. Now you want to punish me here, throw stones at me and take away my life because you are hard-hearted. Then the people spoke back to him, the hostile opponents. We are not doing it because of your works, they said. It is not because of them that we wish to end your days, but rather we are doing it because of your words, because you say such unholy things, because you praise yourself so and say such evil that you pronounce in front of these Jews that you are God himself, the mighty chieftain. and you are only a man like us who comes from this clan." Christ, the all-ruler, did not want to listen any longer to the Jews' reprimands and hostility, and so he went away from the shrine across the Jordan River.
The author almost seems to assume that the temple is close to the river. This may either be a simple mistake or an indication that perhaps Saxon temples were located near rivers. We know that the Irminsul, which Charlemagne destroyed, was near the headwaters of the Lippe.
He had his followers with him, his fortunate warrior companions, the ones who were always glad to live with him. He went to other people, and there the chieftain did as he was accustomed. He taught the people who wanted to believe in his holy words. They always do good for anyone who accepts them into his feelings. Then I have heard it told, messengers came there to Christ from Bethany. They told God's Son that they had been sent there with a message by the women, Mary and Martha, the lovely maidens, very beautiful women. He knew both of them. They were two sisters for whom he had feelings of love before because of their attitude of kindness and goodwill. They were now truly sending for him from Bethany because their brother Lazarus was bedfast, and they did not think that he would live. They asked Holy Christ, the all-ruler, to come and help them.
This is a change from Scripture. The author turns the request into an appeal from the sisters for Christ to help them. In the New Testament, the emphasis is on Christ's love for Lazarus, and the sisters' message is correspondingly simpler and more direct. The man whom you love is sick. John 11:3.
As soon as he heard them speak about the man who was so sick, he answered immediately and said that Lazarus' sickness would not bring him to die. The glory of the chieftain will be accomplished there instead, he said. The sickness will not put him in any kind of danger. The chieftain's son stayed there 2 nights and days. The time had come nearer when he would go back to Jerusalem to show them the power he had. The chieftain's son told his warrior companions that he wanted to go back over the Jordan to the Jewish people. His followers immediately responded to him. "Why are you so keen, my lord," they said, "to go back there? It was not so long ago that they intended to punish you for your words. They wanted to throw heavy stones at you. Now you are determined to travel back to those people where you have plenty of enemies, arrogant earls looking for a fight?" Then one of the 12, Thomas was his name, he was an excellent man, the chieftain's devoted thane, said, "We should not criticize his action or obstruct his will in this matter. We should continue on, stay with him, and suffer with our commander. That is what a thane chooses, to stand fast together with his Lord, to die with him at the moment of doom. Let us all do it, therefore. Follow his road and not let our life spirits be of any worth to us compared to his. Alongside his people, let us die with him, our chieftain."
This very important speech by Thomas introduces the entire recasting of the passion and death in Germanic last stand military terms. The Heliand has expanded the brief laconic. Sorry.
That's okay.
Laconic statement of Thomas given in Scripture in John 11:16. Quote, "Thomas called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, 'Let us go that we may die with him.'" Unquote. The fact that all the disciples will run away except John does not complicate matters for the author, for Germanic epics may have used disloyalty frequently as the tragic flaw of a thane, as we see in Beowulf.
Then our decision and doom will live on after us, a good word among men. And so the followers of Christ, nobly born earls, came to a simple decision, to their Lord's delight.
Another plea to Saxon warriors, no doubt, to follow Christ without wavering.
Then Holy Christ told his warrior companions that Lazarus had fallen asleep from the sickness. "He has given up this light. He is asleep on his sickbed. Now we will go on the journey and awaken him so that he can see this world again, see the light as a living being. Then when that is over, your faith will be stronger from then on." God's good Son set off from there. crossing over the river, until he and his followers, the son of the chieftain himself, and his warrior companions, came to Bethany, where the two sisters, Mary and Martha, sat in painful mourning. Many Jewish people from Jerusalem had gathered there. They wanted to console the women with words so that they would not lament the loss of Lazarus to such an early death. As soon as the guardian of the country approached their property, his arrival was announced. God's son, who was so strong, was outside the hill fort. The two women felt great happiness when they learned that the ruler, God's child of peace, had come to them. Song 49. By decree of holy fate, God's son is able to raise Lazarus from the grave. The women had the greatest of pleasures, the coming of the chieftain and hearing Christ's words. Lamenting and mourning, Martha went to exchange words with the mighty one and spoke to the ruler with grieved mind. If you, my lord, she said, had been nearer to me, best of rescuers, it would not have been necessary, good healer, for me to suffer such bitter pain and suffering in my heart. My brother Lazarus would not now be dead, gone from this light. He would still be able to be alive, filled with life spirit. However, my Lord, I clearly believe in you, best of teachers. Whatever you wish to ask of the bright shining chieftain, he will give you immediately. God Almighty will honor your request.
The staccato tone, created by short phrases and the constant insertion of honorifics, is the Heliand's author's way of creating a sense of desperate pleading, which will not hesitate to engage some flattery in its cause. It also suggests the speech of someone unable to speak, except in short bursts, someone sobbing.
Christ the ruler said in answer to the woman, do not let this darken your spirits within you. I can tell you truthfully that there is no doubt that your brother, by divine command, by the power of the chieftain, will rise up from death in his body. I believe all this, she said, that it will come to pass when the world ends and the great day comes over mankind. He will rise up from the ground on doomsday.
Domus daga, judgment day. That's the Saxon word, domus daga.
When everyone of the human clan will be revived from death and rise up from their rest by the power of God. Then the powerful Almighty Christ said to the woman plainly that he was himself the chieftain's son, both the life and the light of that rising up of the sons of men.
The author has expanded the simple biblical reply of Christ to Martha, I am the resurrection, to include his favorite images, life and light. He uses Christ as a causal nexus rather than an identity. Instead of I am the resurrection and the life, the Heliand says, I am the life force that causes resurrection and the light, world, to then come. World is in parentheses at light. I am the life force that causes resurrection and the light to then come. Interesting.
Never will anyone die or lose his life who believes in me. Even if human beings bury him down deep and cover him over with earth, he is none the more dead because of that. The body is buried, the life spirit is preserved, the soul is hale and well. The woman answered him straight away with her words. I believe, she said, that you are the true Christ, God's Son. It can be recognized clearly and known from your words that you, by decree of holy fate, have power over heaven and earth.
Holy fate, decree of holy fate, Thur Thiu Helagon Giskapu. In her enthusiasm, Martha seems to have slipped back into Germanic religion, saying that Christ rules thanks to the power of fate. This phrase can be interpreted as showing that the Heliand author really is a pagan, and in his heart of hearts, and in this work, still accepts the fundamental orientation of the old religion and believes in fate's superiority to Christ. It can also be seen that by the phrase, by decree of holy fate, is in the niche in the epic that is almost always occupied by the phrase, by the power of God, Thur Gottes Kraft, or by his own power, Thur is selbes Kraft. By decree of holy fate could also be interpreted as an unintentional slip back into the older Germanic religious language. The fact that it is inconsistent with the author's more common phrase by the power of God, would therefore not be anything significant. I feel it is significant and not accidental. The author has intentionally inserted the word holy from his Christian vocabulary and combined it with fate to take the place of the expression the power of God. It is his ultimate, if uneasy, synthesis, the fate of the Saxons and the power of God, the Holy Spirit, incarnate in Christ in the Heliand, are one and the same. In Germanic terms, when one sees Christ, one is seeing fate. Fate can thus be called, as here, holy fate, and eventually be identified with the will of the Christian God. This marriage of concepts has a reciprocal effect. It tends to make fate more holy, and it also tends to make the will of God fatal, more of an impersonal, inevitable force in the Heliand.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I'll talk more about that after.
Okay, cool. Let's not forget.
Yeah, I have an icon in mind that is related to this, and
Okay, cool.
It's related to some C.S. Lewis as well. So, yeah, I'll
I'll
come back.
Yeah.
Then I have heard it told, Mary, the other woman, came, deeply distressed. Many of the Jewish people were walking after her. In her sorrow, she told God's Son what was troubling her, what pain was in her heart. She groaned as she lamented the loss of Lazarus, that beloved man. She moaned and wept until the emotions of God's Son were moved, and hot tears welled up as he cried.
In the biblical account, the crowd is amazed that Jesus is crying and say, "See how much he loved him," John 11, rather than Jesus crying out of emotional sympathy with Mary. The Heliand author must have felt that weeping for another man would have been considered inappropriate by the Saxon warriors.
Then he spoke to the women and told them to lead him to where Lazarus was buried in the ground. There was a stone on top of the grave, a hard rock cover.
This is a Germanic grave, therefore a burial in the earth. In the biblical account, Lazarus, like Christ, is not buried but placed in a cave-like tomb with a vertical stone to close the entrance.
The Holy Christ ordered the stone removed so that he could see the body and look at the corpse. Then Martha, despite the presence of the crowd, could not avoid speaking her mind to the Mighty One. My good Lord, she said, if they take the stone off and remove it, I fear that a smell will come from there, an unsweet odor. I can tell you this in all truth and with no doubt, because he has now been buried in the earth in that grave for 4 days and nights. In answer, the ruler said to the women, listen, did I not truly tell you before? He said, if you believe, it will not be long before you will recognize the chieftain's power here, the mighty strength of God. Then many people stepped forward and lifted up the hard stone. The Holy Christ looked upward with his eyes and gave thanks to him who made this world. Victorious chieftain.
Sigid Drotin. This single word honorific, victory chieftain, was no doubt a highly respected title won in battle.
Victorious chieftain, he said, you are attentive to my words. I know that you are so always, but I am speaking to you in the presence of this great number of Jewish people, so that they will truthfully know that you sent me into the world to teach them. Then he called to Lazarus in a very strong voice and told him to stand up and walk from his grave. The spirit was on its way, returning to the body. Lazarus's limbs began to stir. There was movement under the cloths, but he was still wound about, held tight by the corpse sheets. The ruling Christ told them to help him. Men went forward and unwound the cloth. Radiant, up rose Lazarus into this light. His life was granted to him so that he could continue to have his fated number of years in peace. Mary and Martha were both rejoicing, and no man can truly tell another how happy the two sisters felt in their hearts.
Nimag that man odrumu, gisegien tisode. This appears to be a known formula that the epic tradition, as it is found also in the beginning of Beowulf, as the flaming funeral ship sails away, carrying its cargo to who knows what destination. Oh, okay, so they would say, Nimag that odrumu Gesegian tesode, which is, what was that in English?
Mary and Martha were both rejoicing, and no man can truly tell another how happy the two sisters felt in their hearts.
Interesting. I don't know what.
I don't catch it. I don't
either. Okay.
Many of the Jewish,
Oh, sorry. Maybe it's just no man can truly tell another.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that part.
I guess that, yeah.
Yeah.
Many of the Jewish people were amazed when they saw Lazarus walking safe and sound out of the grave, him whom sickness had taken, whom they had buried deep under the earth, lifeless. Now he could continue his life, hale and well, at home. Thus the King of Heaven, the mighty divine power, can protect everyone's life spirit and help everyone against the hatred of the enemies, everyone to whom he grants his gracious favor. Song 50, the clan gathering of the Jewish warriors decides to kill Christ. The feelings of many men turned in favor of Christ. Attitudes of mind changed. Once they saw his holy works for themselves. Such wondrous things never happened before in the world. Then again, there were also many people of very strong hostile feelings, who did not want to recognize knowledgeably the power of God. On the contrary, they fought against his great strength with their words. The ruler's teachings were so loathsome to them that they sought out other people in Jerusalem. That was the foremost clan assembly site of the Jews, their chief place. A great crowd of cruelly determined men. They informed these people of Christ's works. They said that with their own eyes they had seen the Earl alive, the one who had been in the ground, laid to rest in the earth for 4 days and nights, dead and buried, until Christ awakened him by his own words and actions, so that the Earl could see this world. One little comment I was going to add was I learned that Christ let him stay in there for 4 days because there was a local tradition that your spirit would stay with your body for 3 days. So he wanted to show that he was indeed dead.
Right.
And that he reunited his spirit with his body.
Oh, yeah. His spirit had traveled on.
Yeah. It wasn't just that it re-entered. It was that he had called it. So anyway. That was very repugnant to these arrogant men, Jewish people. They ordered their men to assemble the people there, arranged in their battle groups, the enormous gathering of their clan. They held a secret council about mighty Christ.
The meeting of the high priest and the Pharisees has been transformed into the open-air Germanic thing. That's a Saxon word, thing.
Huh.
The annual gathering of the clan for decisions of law and councils of war. That's
what a thing is.
That's giving a thing a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That we simply tolerate this, they said, is not the only counsel. Too many of this clan will believe his teachings. Then people will come at us with armies of cavalry, and our overlords will be warriors from Rome.
An amazing sentence. There is, of course, no mention at all of cavalry at this point, or any point in the four Gospels. Charlemagne had so developed the cavalry that the Franks possessed the best mounted forces, later to be called knights, in the northern world. Neither the Saxons nor the Vikings fared well against organized cavalry formation, especially once their lines became ragged. The author's deft and brief insertion of the fear of cavalry brings the speaker's words into emotional accord with the military feelings of the Saxons, and into the political fear common to both people, Saxon and Jewish, of being ruled by warriors, quote unquote, from Rome.
After that, we will either live dispossessed of our kingdom, or we will suffer the loss of our lives, heroes, and our heads. Then a highly placed man spoke over the crowd of warriors. He was the bishop of the people inside the hill fort there.
The author uses the word biskop for high priest. This word is not Germanic, but the Greeks of the early church, episkopos, overseer. But the Greek of the early church, episkopos, overseer, and is the word used in the literal translation of the Gospels into Old High German. In the author's day, of course, biskop meant bishop, as it does today. The question occurs, why did he not seek out a Germanic equivalent for high priest? After all, he uses 4 different German pagan words for the temple, and never uses the lone word tempel, which is the word used by the literal Tatian. I think the question is answered in the reading. It strikes one much more forcefully, even today, to hear that quote-unquote bishops are plotting the death of Christ, rather than some high wizard is doing it. The clever use of a loan word here turns the Heliand right back on its Christian hearers. Germanic priests are not to be allowed, even by possible misunderstanding, to take the blame for killing Christ.
Then a highly placed man spoke over the crowd of warriors. He was the bishop of the people inside the hill fort there. Caiaphas was his name. The Jewish people had picked him that year to take care of God's house, to guard the shrine. I think it is astounding, renowned Jewish people, he said. You know all about so many things that you really do not know that it is better counsel for anyone ever born to terminate the aging of one man, to let him die a bloody death by your actions and lose his life spirit for the sake of the clans, than to let all these warrior people be lost. That's such an ironic statement. There's so much irony in that. It's like he's saying it for evil purposes, but he's saying the truth.
Yeah.
It's so there's so much. That's such a paradox. That was not his will, however, which he was so truly expressing openly in front of the people for the benefit of mankind, proclaimed in front of the crowd, but rather it came to him from the power of God because of his holy official position. He was in charge of God's house there in Jerusalem. He was the guardian of the shrine. It was because of this that he, the bishop of the people, said so truthfully how the Son of God was to free all the earth people with his one life spirit, with his life. That was a benefit for all people of earth, since the ruling Christ willed to bring in heathen people as well. At that, those arrogant men, the Jewish warriors, found themselves in agreement and said to their battle groups, those renowned people, that they should not let their feelings be in any doubt. Whoever should find him among the people should immediately capture him and bring him out to the assembly of the clans. They said that they could no longer tolerate that one misled all the people. Christ the ruler knew the minds and attitudes of human beings very well, however, their cruel, hate-filled minds, since nothing in the middle world can be hidden from him. From this point on, he did not want to walk openly in the crowd among the earls of the Jews. God's Son waited for the radiant time which was ahead of him, when he would suffer for these people, bear punishment for these warriors. He knew full well the day that had been fixed. Our chieftain decided to leave. The all-ruling Christ, holy chieftain, then lived in Ephraim with his warriors at the high hill fort, until, following his will, he went back to Bethany amidst the mighty din of his good men. The Jews talked about that in every conversation, the huge numbers they saw following him. This is no good, they said, for the security of our kingdom. Though we have spoken justly, our cause is not thriving at all. He wants to turn this people to his will. All the world is following him because of his teachings, and therefore we will not be able to do anything harmful to him in front of the population.
You want to stop there, Jeremy?
Sure. Yeah. You want to go back to the section I was going to talk about?
Actually, yeah, let's I wanted to just read a poem that I wrote once a long time ago about the stoning of the adulterous woman.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about that other thing that you were mentioning.
Great. Yeah.
I just got to find it here really quick.
Sure.
Okay. Let him who has no sin is what I called it. As you scribble in the sand, knees bent, dust on your sandals, does the chaos burn through your eardrums, into your beating heart? I imagine it does. Or do you even hear it? Perhaps it is a quiet moment spent in communion, loving and being loved. I imagine it could be. The din of your contemplation, the stillness that suddenly erupts, washing over them as they clamor for justice. So you give it to them. You make them alike. You make them one. The unjust go home, and the righteous design your death.
Mm. I like your mixture of categories. That's good. It adds to the paradox that we're faced with in that story.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, so much of this stuff is antinomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about antinomy. Man, I can't. Sorry, I'm having, for some reason, having some difficulties with the brightness of my light, and I don't know what's happening here, but
It looks like, yeah, the sun keeps interfering
no, it's not
behind
that
you
from
in the
my eyes.
windows.
It's my eyes, Jeremy. Like,
Oh.
I think what it is I left my reading glasses at the tent, and
Oh.
I've got these. They're, what do you call those? Those progressives, and it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
brutal on my eyes. Honestly.
Oh, I see. I see.
So
I
anyway,
see. I thought you meant with the backlighting and stuff.
no, it's just
Oh, I see.
everything's bothering
Yeah.
my eyes at the moment.
I see. So I wanted to talk about fate and how he was saying that the author of the Heliand was basically joining together in Christ
Yeah.
the holy fate. And this ties into a video I was listening to today. And it I'll pull it up and I'll see if I can maybe we can just share that one part of the video.
I mean, Paul Vanderklay clips stuff all the time. A lot of people
Yeah,
do.
I think it should be fine. I think it'll be all right. I think that one time we just played the whole video and they were like, oh.
We did.
Yeah. So anyway,
it was too good.
I know, right? Okay. So this is a series I've been watching. Let me share my screen. Let me get it to a place where I was talking about. Okay. So present. Oh yeah, this one right here. That's a stage. Okay. So this is Zachary Porfu. He's a professor of theology at a Catholic school. He's Orthodox, and he wrote his doctoral thesis on demons and demonology in the Church Fathers, and demons and angels in the Church Fathers, in the early Church Fathers. And so in this series, he's talking about AI and how AI is basically just a reinstantiation of paganism, and how these idols are being created and people are asking them questions and like using tarot cards with this AI and asking for doing divination and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But he was talking also before that, he's talking about paganism and what paganism is and how Christ kind of overruled pagans. So this is him, and this is him talking about what paganism is, and then also what fate is and where it comes from. So I will just play this real quick.
Oh, we got no sound.
You can't hear it?
No.
Okay.
You might have to share audio there somewhere.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's try it again. Share screen. This one. Also, share tab audio. Share. Okay, we'll try it again. Let's see if it works.
Religions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Calculate what's going on in the stars, you can understand what's happening on the earth. Everything is related on an ancient, enchanted, cosmic view of reality. So what's so funny is that the church fathers talk about how astrology and the zodiac were ways that the pagan gods dominated humans with their religions. So I'm going to quote, some of you know, I did my my doctoral dissertation on magic and demonology in the early church fathers. So I'm going to give you a couple of quotes from my dissertation. So this is the first one. This is about one of the early church fathers, Tashian. So the quote goes like this. Tashian asserts that the demons, quote, are they who laid down the doctrine of fate, end quote, on the basis that they are, quote, being overpowered by the same passions as men, end quote. So the pagan deities came up with the idea of fate because it's in their mind that they want to have some excuse for why you're not responsible for your actions. They want to implicate much or all of astrology as part of this deceit, indicating that, quote, the delineation of the zodiac circle is the work of the gods, i.e. the demons. And he criticizes this setup as allowing the mortal to give up his free will, being able to disregard anything that happens to him simply as being in the power of the gods. So it's actually, astrology is actually part of the slavery, the way that the demons enslave us. And then here's the part that I really flipped, that like I flipped out with this too, doing a lot of flipping out lately. So this is the second quote. This is from Tertullian, if you know Tertullian, the prolific early church writer. He says, so too, Tertullian writes, that other species of magic, which operates by miracles, emulous even in opposition to Moses, tried God's patience until the gospel. And he explains that science, he's talking about astrology, has been allowed until the gospel, in order that after Christ's birth, no one should thenceforward mean from now on, interpret anyone's nativity by the heavens, meaning your nativity by the heavens, meaning when you were born determines something about your fate. In other words, horoscopes. And he says that science persisted. He calls it a species of magic, a type of magic. It tried God's patience. And at the gospel, it's overturned. How does that work? Here, we'll continue. You'll see. Indeed, there is a kind of counter-usurping narrative in some of the accounts of Christ's nativity. Ignatius describes how, quote, all the rest of the constellations, together with the sun and moon, formed a chorus around the star of Christ, such that, consequently, all magic and every kind of spell were dissolved. The ignorance so characteristic of wickedness vanished, and the ancient kingdom, meaning the kingdom of the old gods, was abolished when God appeared in human form to bring the newness of eternal life. So, you may miss what's going on here. The implication is that astrology worked prior to the birth of Christ. It was a type of magic, and the demons actually ruled. Why else would he say the ancient kingdom was abolished? Because there was a real kingdom that the ancient gods ruled. That's why the devil, and in the three temptations when Christ is in the wilderness, the devil offers to give Christ the world. And Christ doesn't say, you don't own the world, stop lying to me. He does own the world. The pagan gods rule the world. So the birth of Christ crushes the rule of the old gods. So astrology, this idea that your destiny is controlled by fate, i.e. by the gods, that's the worldview religious doctrine in astrology and horoscopes and all this stuff, is that it's not that like I can figure out what I'm really like, what I really need or want or love. That's the modern take. The worldview assumption in horoscopes and astrology is that you are not responsible for your actions. You are a slave to the planets. They rule you. They determine your fate. You are a slave. That's what's going on with astrology.
Yeah.
All right. So
It was good.
Yeah. So this ties into one of my favorite icons, and I think I've shared it before, but I'll bring it up again. Not that one here. And let's just take me 1 second. This is in Georgia. The country, not the state. New tab. Okay, let me make it so it can just fit on the screen. Oop. Oh. I hit the wrong button. I could have done a transition there, but I didn't do it.
That's okay.
Okay, here we go. So this icon is super interesting and related, right? So you have Christ, the star in the center of the constellations, and you have the 12 apostles around him. You have a
cherubim.
That's a seraphim. This is a cherubim.
Yeah.
Down here. And then you have, look at that, the zodiac.
Yeah.
So they have been brought under his dominion. And in the video later, he talks about how this new star appeared in the sky, and it was brighter than the other stars. And the wise men who practiced astrology noticed this, and they were like, oh, there's a new star that's brighter than all the other ones. We need to go worship that.
Mm-hmm.
And it led them to Christ, because
that's very reminiscent. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, it's okay.
Well,
go ahead.
That's very reminiscent of the story of Joseph too. Right.
Yes.
Of all the sheaves bowing down to the other sheaf.
Yes, exactly.
And but it also reminds me of that Gosforth cross, where it's kind of like how Lewis describes what George MacDonald did for him. He baptized his imagination. So he took him from Coleridgean fancy into divine imagination. And so what I perceive when I see these images is that there's a baptism of, of paganism, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
It's integrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what that the author of the Heliand is doing when he describes fate as holy fate. He's now baptized it. But there's a nagging, persistent problem for me, because here's the deal, and this has to do with causality. All of this, okay, what you were talking about in the beginning, is that people will also, like Christians call this God's providence, God's sovereignty. Okay, that's the words Christians use instead of the pagan term fate, for example. But the superstition around it is the same. And I don't mean according to the gospel. I mean according to human behavior. Okay, that's what I mean.
Lay it out for me here. Let me understand.
Well, I mean, someone dies in a car accident at the age of 28, and people say, well, that was God's will for their life. And I say, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
That sounds cruel and arbitrary. I'm not too sure about that. And this is the problem of evil, okay? That humans don't know how to deal with. And so they revert back to fate.
Yes, you're right.
They do.
Yep. All death is a tragedy. All death is a tragedy.
And suffering.
Yes. Yeah.
But and I think this is why I'm kind of excited about this, because, and I don't have it all figured out, but it's just something that was seeded in me a long, long time ago, that just keeps cropping up, is that these things, like the zodiac and the pagan gods, like the Nordic gods, they don't get excluded, they get baptized.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And
I mean, it's integrated in an icon
yeah,
in
exactly.
a very old Orthodox church.
Right. And so, and there's no soldier with his foot on their head either. Right. Like they're in
they've been brought into submission.
Yeah. In a
and
circle.
then reordered. Yes.
In a circle.
Right.
Like, okay.
Around him. Yeah.
The circle is eternal.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So,
well, and,
so
C.S. Lewis, just real quick, C.S. Lewis, and I think it's relevant. He said that this image from medieval times, this was like the medieval cosmology, basically implied that if you did not subject yourself, if you did not fall subject to Christ, you would then fall outside of his domain and back under the domain of the lower gods.
Right.
You would be resubjected to their tyranny.
Okay, that yes. And here's the thing that comes to my mind. Is this icon, because it's circular and because it's concentric circles, okay? What it's doing is Christ contextualizes everything else. Okay? But only if you pay attention. So that's what C.S. Lewis is saying. If you don't pay attention to the center of eternity, then you end up on the outside of all these concentric circles, right? Which could be the Ouroboros in its own, in a sense, right? It's this just circular time, right? Just repetitive cycles of fate and what have you.
Yes.
But the way that this is laid out, it moves you into a point of focus, Jeremy, like a pupil contracting.
Yep.
Okay. And that's the center. And that's the thing that if you center your attention there, everything else becomes contextualized. Does that make any sense? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because everything else falls in its proper place. Everything else is properly aligned.
Yeah.
Under Christ.
Like right away, when I look at this, I think right away of King Solomon saying, for everything, there is a season.
Yeah. Well, and we still use the sun and the moon to know when to get up in the morning. We use the sun to know when to get up and when to go to sleep in the morning or at night. And we use the different seasons to know when to plant, when to harvest. We still live in this world. We still live with the sun and the moon, and they still influence us. So we still, it's like, it's not like Christ came and then just like it's light all the time now.
Yeah. And
it's now it's been integrated properly.
Right. And it's also it's also a story of becoming that outside circle. Yeah. Because each one of those signs is a kind of being in the world.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And if you go around that circle enough times, every year, right? You have a birthday. You're going to pass through all of those things.
Right. Yeah.
It's that journey that brings you into the inner circle, which brings you to the other to the very center of that of that circle. It's
this could easily be the 12 great feasts of the church too, right?
Oh yeah.
You have the 12 great feasts, and then you have
you got seraphim and cherubim. What's that other thing in underneath?
In the middle? I don't know.
It's like, is that Vesica Piscus? Is that the mandorla?
This.
That's
those are fish. Isn't this Wheel of Fortune?
I don't know.
Or is that? Yeah, no, I don't know.
It looks like wedding rings to me, but
yeah,
it's because I'm a woman.
Yeah. I think it could be the Wheel of Fortune, but I don't remember for sure. I don't know if it fits in that this context.
If
I would have
anybody
to look.
watching knows, that'd be cool.
Yeah, hop in.
Because there's, we've got, we've got 3 more symbols there that are screaming at us.
Speaking of, if you want to come talk with us, you're welcome to.
Oh,
we would love to have you. And I will drop another Ko-fi link real quick too.
Is that our link for to jump on?
Is it? I thought it was. Is it not?
No. That's
not it. Sorry.
I'll drop this
that's
in.
Not it.
Here.
Yeah. This is
Uh-huh.
That's our donate Ko-fi, and then
I got it.
I sent the wrong link. Sorry. Thank you.
Link. It's okay.
I'm a noob.
Jeremy's just selling us here.
That's what we do.
Pump out the consumerism.
I mean, man cannot live by bread alone, but you do have to render to Caesar what is Caesar's, right? So
yeah,
we still are subject to our leaders. So,
yeah.
Anyway, no, this is good. This all tied together in some really beautiful ways.
Yeah, really, really good. Like, I just know that because of my long journey through the book of Job, causality, fate, and even today what Christians call providence and sovereignty, it gets reduced down very, very quickly to very superstitious ways of being in the world. And I feel like that is something that I have personally tried to pay attention to, because it can manifest itself in the most peculiar things. Like, here, I'll give you some personal examples in my own life. I didn't pray last night, and that's why this happened. But
right. Yes.
A thought like that has crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And when it does, I say, get thee behind me, Satan. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because that isn't true. That is not, that is superstition. That is the human tendency to fall into the idea of fate, causality, right?
Right.
And to turn
then thinking, yeah.
Yeah. And to turn God's providence into those things.
Right.
God's sovereignty, God's providence into those things.
Yeah.
It takes courage to stand in the gap and refuse to say that an unjust thing is God's will. I would rather say don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Because I really don't.
Right.
It could be. I'm not saying that it's wrong, like that it isn't.
Yeah.
It's, it's like, was it God's will for you to be driving your brother's car so you could call your aunt? Was it because she prayed somewhere in that eternal moment? And so all that was prepared, but we have to be careful.
Well, yeah, because then we are just surrendering to fate and I don't have any free will anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not true, right?
No,
God will work with us, and he's always inviting us, and he's always calling us, and he's yearning for us. I read a nice description today. The Saint Sophrony said that God yearns for us the way, he longs for us the way that a mother longs for her sick child, right? The yearns for that, relief, and frets and worries. And right. But we still participate. We still, and he will not force himself on us. He will arrive very gently and very subtly and only be with us if we invite him, like if we ask. There's not. And that goes to what you're saying. It's like, did God will for me to call my aunt? Well, I got the suggestion, but I didn't have to listen to it. And even if I got the suggestion, there's no way for me to know if that was God suggesting it to me. That That's also delusional.
Well, this is I really want to read a comment that I left on Michael Martin's Substack. This is what I call entanglement.
Yeah.
Okay. Because here's the problem. It can be a problem. If you want to rationalize all of this, this is a problem. Because we assent, or we give our yes to God, but we can't do it until he woos us.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
what is that? Okay. People have said God doesn't coerce. Really? He doesn't. But if he didn't, you wouldn't be saying yes. Okay? But
Yeah,
is there
right.
is there a good way to coerce somebody? We did it. We've all, if we've had children, we've all done it to them. If we've been in a relationship with a spouse that we love, we've done it to them. Right? So these lines are like super, it's the poem. I keep going back to this poem that I wrote. There's a fine line that I walk upon. When I look down on it, it is there and then gone. Oh, how I weary of the light that shines, making it thick once, making it fine. So then when it's fine, I can't see it, but it's still there, right? This is a kind of fate, isn't it? As the one foot falls in front of the other, the line swerves around and draws itself under, right? And I try so hard to stay out of its wake, right? But I'm still held by the path that it makes. But this is God carrying me. So what this man did in the Heliand when he called fate holy was it's one of the best poetic moves ever. Okay. It's kind of what I did that day when I said that the bride of Christ, the Jerusalem, comes down and the whore of Babylon is destroyed. I said the bride defiles the whore. Okay, this is how things get baptized. They because I don't know if I'm making any sense, but for me, this is about transformation. Nothing is destroyed. Things are not, annihilated because everything is connected. So what God does is he transforms them. And when he does that, the old thing is destroyed because it's gone. It's annihilated because it's gone. It's like last week when I read the David White poem, and he said, revelation must be a terrible thing, right? Because you don't have any time to say goodbye. To what? Your old self. It's gone, Jeremy.
Right.
It's never coming back. It's been annihilated. Okay? So it's like, I want to read you the comment that I wrote to Michael Martin, but if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
Well, yeah, I definitely believe that we have free will, but I definitely believe that God is always
I do too.
Working on us and fishing and yearning and reaching and praying in us. Right? He's praying himself within us. And it's the call is to quiet everything else in your life so that you can hear that prayer that's being said in you by God. And you have to be ruthless in seeking that stillness, right? You have to be ruthless in killing everything that gets in the way of it.
Well,
and sacrificing it.
Yeah, and I would say you have to This is why I use the term stand in the gap. This is what a mediator does, right? You have to hold the tension.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Right.
what Solomon did when the two women were fighting over the baby.
Yeah.
He was ready to go all the way, okay? Because he knew that it would never go that far.
Right.
But he had to go there in
to
order
reveal the truth. Yeah.
Right. It's like Isaac and Abraham. It's
Yeah.
the same idea.
Right.
So in this post that Michael Martin,
Oh, that's related to the idea of going where I was sharing, where my priest was saying, when you're experiencing deep suffering, go to your icon corner and say, "Thank you, Lord. If it's possible, give me more."
Mhm.
Right. It's that submission
right. So
and surrender. Yeah.
Michael Martin he wrote about suffering. I guess he says this in the Substack that he overheard his wife listening to Josiah Trenum podcast, and Father Trenum was saying something about embracing your suffering, and that upset Michael, because there is a way to look at that as being an unhealthy response to the world, right? I don't think that's what Father Trenum meant, but that's what Michael Martin ended up writing his Substack about. And so I just wrote this. I said, this is a difficult subject, almost as difficult as reading Matthias Desmet's Substack this morning on Bell's theorem, which I did that morning. And yes, they are in some way related because of entanglement. As someone who escaped the delusional thinking that my suffering was too great to bear, who didn't understand what freedom was, and who nearly never came back, I can say with confidence that suffering is a bitch. As you pointed out, thank God, Christ is in the midst of our suffering. It is there that he draws near and embraces us, and in so doing, redeems it. But without it, without his embrace in the midst of it, we would be unable to embrace our own suffering. I would never want to experience that kind of suffering again. At the same time, I know that the potential for it exists because I was already there once. There is an encounter with death, capital D, one that is unhealthy, distorted, and immature in all of this too. But encounters with death can trample death. Or not. Okay? Like there's two sides to everything here. And this is the problem. It's a how problem. How do we move forward? How do we trample death by death? I don't have any answers. I wish I did. But like the phoenix, so many have risen from the ashes and become more beautiful. All I can say is from my own experience in the darkest moment of my suffering, when I was more prepared to face an eternity in hell than to go on quote unquote living, Christ embraced me, held me tightly, and said to me, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. I wasn't being chastised. I didn't feel alone. I never understood these words to be anything less than comfort. We cannot comfort those who suffer. We can only be with them in their suffering. And this is what Christ did for me. He accompanied me. I was not alone. I wish there was no suffering, but I do know now that there is freedom inside of it. Like I said, entanglement.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Jeremy, look, I just see this entanglement everywhere. I see it that's why I said there's a fine line that I walk upon, right? When I look down on it, it's there and then it's gone, And so it's like, do Christians believe in fate? Some do. Yeah, they do. I hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I going to do? Jump on their backs and, tell them they're dumb and stupid? No. But even for me and for you who don't see it like that, I hope, I mean, sometimes I end up there too, like I remember something happened to me one day and my first thought was, what did I do wrong? And then the whole story of Job came flooding in like a tidal wave. And I'm like, oh my God, I just did it. I just thought God was a vending machine.
Right.
I just thought that if I did the right things, I would get good shit.
Right.
So I must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
It's just that easy. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't even begin to propose any kind of system to avoid that. I would just say, well, again, it's about attention. It's about paying attention. So when that thing happened to me, when I had the thought, what did I do wrong? The first thing that happened was I heard myself. And I know I've done it many times and not heard myself, and then ended up continuing in that rut of, you're a loser. You're totally depraved, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all your fault.
Right. Yeah. You can't be redeemed.
You must have angered the gods.
Right.
Because that's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like how different is that from anything that we just read about? Anyway, sorry, but this is
no.
It's a really nuanced, it's why attention is so important, actually. It's why it's so important to hone your attention.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about suffering as well, because it's like there's also the idea of when you're on a football team and you are a freshman coming onto a team that has won state for the last 10 years, and there's this high level of expectation, and you show up and you're out of shape and you're weak and you're small. There's a lot of suffering involved into transforming you into a football player who's going to be ready in 3 months from now to line up with another guy who's been preparing. Right. And you go into the 2-a-day workouts where you're there at sunrise and then you're there at sunset, and you are running and you are sweating and you are thirsty and you are exhausted and you are starving, and you go home and you eat a bunch of food, you sleep for 3 hours and you wake up and you eat a bunch more food, and then then you hang out for a while, and then you go to practice again. And all of that is suffering. However, it's imbued and embedded with meaning, because you're suffering to be a part of the state championship team.
Right.
And also your endurance for suffering is growing, because if you think you can stand in the presence of God in your current state, you're crazy, and God in his mercy does not appear to you, because you would be burned up.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to learn to tolerate, you need to be exposed and accustomed to that burning fire. God is a consuming fire. It says that in the book of Hebrews. And that just doesn't happen overnight, where you can stand in the presence of God and not be consumed, right? I mean, the disciples were called, and there was a lot of preparation and teaching done, and not even all of the disciples went up onto Mount Tabor. They had to be prepared for that, and it was only through grace that they could endure it. And even then, Peter denied Christ even after being exposed to that fire. Right? There's no guarantee.
No, and I'm not faulting. I use myself as an example on purpose, because it's only natural. This is why I said this has to do with causality.
Yeah.
Causality is like one of the first things we learn as children. If you touch the hot stove, you'll get burnt.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
If you pick the rose bush, you'll get thorns. if you play with the alligator, you'll get eaten, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm still talking
Yeah.
about just letting you
Yeah.
know.
No, dog is gonna eat. I got you.
So, it's like this is what going through the book of Job really challenged me on, was how do you not think about that? And and here's the thing, Job's friends used causality to try to force Job to repent. Okay, you must have done something wrong, therefore you need to repent. Okay.
Yes.
And he had already done the inventory. He had self-examined himself to the point where he couldn't find anything. He was a good man.
Right.
He was an honest
Yeah.
man. He was a wise man.
It was perfect in the scriptures.
Yeah, he was. Well, God called him righteous. Have you seen my righteous servant Job? He said to Satan. Okay. Like there's a lot going on there right now. Okay. So, anyway, what Job does is he holds on to his integrity. He's integrity, or I mean, you could maybe put it in Jungian terms. He's integrated. He's willing to say that he's wrong. He knows that he has failures and faults, and he knows he has blind spots. Okay. And I personally think he also knows what intuition feels like. Okay. Because if he had an inkling go through his mind that maybe there's something, there, he would have repented.
Mm-hmm.
But he kept challenging that in himself, and he kept coming up empty-handed. His integrity just kept saying to him, no, you're good. You're righteous. You haven't done anything wrong. And so he held on to that. And why am I saying all this now? What were we talking about before? The causality thing.
Yeah.
So how do we get away from falling into the trap of thinking, well, this must have happened to me because I did something wrong? Because then it's like God's shooting and you're dancing in one of those old Western movies.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And he's shooting and you're dancing. What a life.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can think of to say here is that what happens with Job is he starts to look at creation itself. He says, I've seen a stump that was cut down, put up a new shoot. And then he thought, maybe there's life after death. Like he went way out there. Okay. He went to a kind of resurrection thinking. And his friends were just like, no, we rip it out and we throw it in the fire. Doesn't that sound like eternal hell to you? Eternal conscious torment. There's only one thing for a dead stump. You rip it out and you burn it. So, but Job just kept saying, no, I've seen that. And all of the things that bring him hope are from creation. Okay. And then as such an integer man, he actually says to God, indict me. I have done all the examination. I can't figure this out. If this is a judgment on me, come and indict me. Give me the indictment. And he says, I'll wear it as a crown, Jeremy. That's exactly what you were talking about when you said, if there's any more suffering, how did you put it that the monk said? What did he say exactly?
Yeah. He said, you thank God for the suffering and you ask him if it's possible, give me more. That's
exactly what Job did. I'll wear it as a crown, okay? Because that would be at least the thing that makes sense out of everything that's happening to him right now.
Mm-hmm.
And God shows up And all he does is tell him stories about creation.
Yeah.
So what's happening there? Job sees hope. He sees eternal life. He sees resurrection in creation, and then God comes along and he shows and he gives him a speech and about creation. And it's all antinomies, actually, by the way. He says, look at the ostrich. She's stupid. She leaves her eggs out in the sun. Predators come and get them, but boy, can she run. And you think, God, that's a horrible thing to say. Why would you say something like that? She's leaving her young to die, but you think she's, that's almost something sadistic. You could interpret it like that, right? You could say, who cares how fast she can run? You know what I mean? Like, she's a terrible mother. But this is the thing. I mean, there's a lot underneath of all of that. I won't get into it because that would be a whole nother show. But, it's like, or then, Job's friends say, God will rip open the jaws of the lions and, he will destroy them and kill them. And then God says to Job, I feed them.
Yeah. Yeah. I made Behemoth so I could ride him.
Yeah. And then he says,
or Leviathan, sorry. I made Leviathan so I could ride him.
He says to him, do you want to give Leviathan to your little girls to play with? You want to put him on a leash? That's what God says.
Right.
You want to put him on a leash. Okay. So these things, I mean, this is all going back to entanglement for me. Yeah. Connectedness, relata. That's the word that McGilchrist uses. Relata is primary. Well, if everything is related in relation to each other, right? Just like when I started talking about walking with my goats and then finding out that nothing is there by accident. I'm just stupid if I think that, oh, look, there's a mushroom there. Isn't that interesting? Where did that come from? It must have landed in a spaceship and then just appeared out of nowhere.
Right.
No.
Right. Right.
And that's kind of how we see things in the natural world, and we see them like even scientists do. They see everything as abgekapslet. What's the word? Atomized.
Oh, right. Yes.
Individuals, because that's what they think they are. Machines.
Right. Yes.
Anyway, I could.
Yeah.
This is a passion project.
Yeah. No, I hear that, and I wanted to share a story. I think I've shared it before, but it's one of my favorite stories I've heard about my dad. A friend of ours, like he was so my dad and his dad were friends, and so then this guy was my age and he got older and he started working with my dad as well, and they were on a job together. And so my friend told me this story, and he said, so my dad at the time was driving his welding truck. He was a welder. His welding truck it didn't have a top. It was an old Kaiser Jeep. It was an old military Jeep, and at that time he didn't have a top for it, and so it was just open air, and it was summer, and and he lives in the desert, so it wasn't a big deal. But this particular day they were out working and it started to sprinkle, and then it started to rain a little bit, and when it's raining you can't weld. You don't want to be dealing with high voltage at that point, right? So
not.
Yeah, so everyone gets in their truck, and he said he saw my dad go and sit in his convertible truck as it starts to rain, and he had a cigarette in his mouth and he was trying to light it, and he said it just started pouring rain. It just like flash flood kind of torrential downpour in the middle of the desert. And my dad was looking out and he was trying to light a cigarette, and he looked around and he reached down and he just rolled up the window. on his truck, right? And everybody was watching and got a laugh out of it. And finally somebody hollered and said, "Hey, come get in our truck." So we went and got in. But like that spirit is what I think about when I hear that story about the monk saying, if you're suffering, just go and thank God for it and ask him if there's more. Right? It's that instead of resisting and being angry and being righteously indignified or whatever, your righteous indignation over being, over having to suffer, you just go, I'm not going to let this get the best of me.
Yeah. So,
and you just submit to it. And this is I'm thinking, my response to Michael is like, you can either embrace it or you can be ruled by it, and you can be running from it your whole life. Or you can just say, okay, today I'm going to be really uncomfortable. And sometimes you can just practice being uncomfortable. That's what fasting is. Fasting, one of the purposes of fasting is to just learn how to be, like, how weak you are. Right. And how, and you embrace it. You say, I'm going to be hungry today, and it's okay. I'm not going to die.
I often think of it like as jumping hurdles in a track and field day, right? If you were an Olympian hurdle jumper and you got out on the field and you start giving it your all, and there were no hurdles on the field, you'd be really pissed.
Right.
Okay.
That's what you're trained for. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you're training for. Is to jump those hurdles, okay? And I always thought of that in relationship to, I don't remember the verse off by heart, but St. Paul said, running the race that's set before us.
Yes.
That's what I always imagined in my mind was hurdle jumpers because we're overcomers, right? So it's like, this is what we're training for. It's why we fast. It's why we pray. It's why we practice ritual. It's why we learn to pay attention, right? Because I think that's everything. Everything. During the Job podcast with Jess, I used to say all the time, you have to walk out into the landscape of pain and suffering. Because what you actually find out there is a stump with a shoot coming out of it.
Yes.
And that's a revelation. That's exactly what it was to Job.
Yes. Yes. You see life everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was talking to one of my godsons one time, and I just said to him, I was like, there's nowhere you can go where you can't look around and find an icon of Christ. Mm-hmm. Because he's been everywhere. He created it all. Mm-hmm. And then he went there again as a man to place icons of himself everywhere.
Yeah.
And you'll see him in every person you meet if your eyes are open.
Right.
But you can see him, in the deepest, darkest pits of hell. You can look around and there's an icon there of Christ, and you can look at it and be saved.
Yes. Absolutely.
Or you can get really mad about suffering and how not right it is, and you shouldn't even. Well, I have no patience for that.
Let me just throw another wrench into the whole story of Job. Job was not an Israelite. Okay. Neither were his friends, probably.
Right.
Okay. This is not a problem that only the pagans have or only the Christians have. This is a problem that human beings have.
Right.
And I think it has a lot to do with the idea of missing the mark, for one thing. Because when you assume the worst instead of the best, which is what Job did, you've missed it. You've missed the point.
Yeah.
Right? You missed the target. Yeah, what the book that I'm reading by Pavel Florensky, it's called the pillar and ground of the truth. That's how it's presented on the page. And then in between each line, it says 12 letters. Oh, now I can't remember it. I don't have it here. It's at the tent.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Maybe show it.
I will.
An essay in Orthodox theodicy in 12 letters. Okay. To read the subtitle, what do you have to do? You
Read
have
between the lines.
Right. Thank you so much. Woo! Okay. So if you want to know what Orthodox theodicy is, you better read between the lines. And that's exactly what Job does when he goes out into the landscape of pain and suffering. He reads between the lines. Okay? In the relata, in the in-between, that's where he finds his answers, Jeremy.
Right.
In the relationship between all things, which is what holds all things together?
Christ. Right.
Okay.
And it wasn't rational if then thinking that got him there. It was completely
irrational as far as his friends were concerned.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Every time he got closer or farther out, let's say, farther out from them, farther into that landscape, closer to the truth, his friends became more and more inflamed. Like this is think of the image. Okay. What's happening? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And
but even his wife.
Yeah, but there's a really interesting theory about her first go and die. First of all, in a lot of Hebrew texts, curse and bless are switched around because you can't do either one of them really. So it's kind of like I don't even know what it's called. It's got a name. It's a kind of like there's a lot of very sarcastic humor in the book of Job. So it's constantly inverting and flipping and flipping and inverting. I don't think I remember all of the details about Job's wife, but I remember Jess mentioning once that she was the kind of the impetus, let's say, for him to get up and start really thinking about this whole thing.
Because like Theotokos saying, do whatever he says.
It's the invitation by the feminine, right?
Yeah.
The hard one, the hard invitation. So, and it could have been like, well, if you're so, why don't you just die then? Like knowing that that's never going to happen. Like I don't know if that's exactly, there's a lot of ideas around it because it's a very, interesting book, actually.
Yeah, it's a very poetic text for sure.
Super poetic. And if you're not a Hebrew speaker, you're probably missing a crap load of stuff in it.
That's interesting. I read a commentary. I have a commentary. I haven't read the whole thing, but I have a commentary on the book of Job. And he uses this particular commentator. What he did was he uses the Septuagint and then the Masoretic text, and then one other one. I think it's the King James, and he has all three of them, and he just goes by verse, and he shares. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
He shares all three, and then he shares all of the church father commentary on
Yes.
that. But he's also kind of synthesizing it and revealing that some of the church fathers really kind of struggled understanding it because they were just working with the Septuagint and didn't have access to the Hebrew.
To the Hebrew.
Some of those things weren't as clear in the Septuagint. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a really great commentary. I haven't read all of it. I've read parts of it. And it's very,
same here. I haven't read all of it.
it's very
either.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, I had no idea we'd go down this rabbit hole, but
you know,
it was great.
Yeah. Never know.
Yeah.
We always find it interesting rabbit holes, usually related to farming or impatient with modernists who think we shouldn't suffer.
Well, you know, I love Michael Martin, so I tend to see that what motivates him more than anything is a kind of empathy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just so well, I know we don't have time to talk about this, but I also posed the question today to a friend, do you think God is predatory? And they were like, absolutely not. I said, oh, okay. Why does Jesus call it the Lion of Judah?
Yeah.
And the reason I thought of that, I don't know, I just threw it out there because I was remembering a conversation I had with Rigel, and I was watching a dragonfly hunting one day when I was sitting at my tent. And I, first of all, I would never want to be hunted by a dragonfly, okay?
Right.
Good God.
Yeah.
So like being hunted by an alien because they can move at fantastic speeds and turn on a dime.
And hover.
And everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then anyway, I had this conversation with Rajal, and I just said, yeah. And we were talking about dragonflies, and I said, you know, I believe that God hunts us down, right? Well, I just want to read. We don't have to talk about this, but
sure.
I just want to throw it out there, maybe for people to think about some more. But this is from the book of Job. Job says, therefore, I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I the sea or the monster of the deep that you must keep me under guard? When I think my bed will comfort me and my couch will ease my complaint, then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that I would prefer strangling and death over life in this body. I loathe my life. I don't want to live, or I would not live forever. Leave me alone, for my days are but a breath. What is man that you should exalt him, that you should set your heart upon him, that you attend to him every morning and test him every moment? Will you never look away from me or leave me alone to swallow my spittle? If I have sinned, what have I done to you, O watcher of mankind? Why have you made me your target, so that I am a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For soon I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me, but I will be no more. You know, I thought about this watcher thing, and I thought, man, because I've talked about this at length, and it's been something that I've always found super interesting, is the difference between a predator and a prey animal, and the whole idea of straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
So predators move in straight lines, right? Their eyes are in the front of their faces, and they have whites of their eyes. So prey animals have whites too, but they only show them when they're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So my sheep, you know, they'll pull their eyelids way back, and then you'll see the whites. Otherwise, their eyes are blacked out, basically. You don't see anything. The reason we have whites is so that those guys can see where we're looking.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
And so dogs see where we're looking too, and they look.
Birds can see where you're looking because you have
Yeah.
whites, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in your eye. And so when Job describes God as a watcher,
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about a predator.
Right.
Because that's what predators do.
Right.
And that's what prey animals see them as, watchers, because they can see their eyes. They know where they're looking. That's why a herd of zebra can quietly graze around a lion eating the zebra, because there's no watching going on. If the lion is laying there watching, they run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
why my livestock guardians don't look at my sheep.
Right.
Because
it's a threat.
It's a threat.
Yep.
If Job calls God a watcher, he's literally calling him a predator. I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Hebrew says there, but I can imagine it's not unrelated. Anyway, something to think about.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think of the image. What came to mind when you were talking about Christ as a lion, also the image from Samson, the life of Samson, where he kills the lion and then he comes back the next day and there's honey. There's a honeycomb in the lion's mouth and he takes it and eats it. That's also an image of Christ.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, then the person I was speaking to said, yeah, but he's also described as a lamb. And I said, absolutely.
Yeah, they'll lie down together, right? Yeah.
The hunted and the hunter.
Yeah.
What is that? It's an antinomy again. Just want to keep throwing that in there.
It's the same. I mean, that's what the Song of Solomon is all about, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The bride and the bridegroom.
Right. And the longing.
The dance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, Jeremy. This is all I could talk about this for the rest of my life. Maybe at some point God will shut me up.
Yeah. That's what the word mystery actually means.
Yeah.
Like mysterion is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Silence is the language of heaven.
Yeah.
That's another one my priest throws at us a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, so start practicing now. That's what he says. He said, silence is the language of heaven. So you better start practicing.
Yeah. I've always thought that, because St. Paul says, one day we will know as we are known, right?
Yeah. Well, and he said he saw things that he couldn't utter.
Yeah, of course.
In the third heaven, right? Yeah.
But then I always thought, well, if we're going to be known if we're going to know as we are known, then what is there going to be to talk about? Like, we're just going to be like, nah, like it's just going to be, I think speech will just be like a really old walking device or something.
Yeah.
Like a crutch.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Leading up to that moment, where I think all we'll actually be able to do is say, holy, holy, holy. That's what I think.
Right.
Because, man, this is like holy good, right?
Yeah. I better head to sleep so I can go to work.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks for honoring us with your time. We're grateful that you're here, and we're grateful to be able to share the Heliand with you, and all of our speculations and meanderings. Please forgive us. we try to share what's true, but we don't know. So we're grateful for your patience with us.
Yeah, all I do is share what I think I see in things. Yeah. Because here's the thing. When you're talking about paradox, all you can do is look at it and stand amazed, be in awe,
Yeah.
right? That's how I feel about these things. I'm in awe of them. That's why I have to talk about them. But I can't explain them. Like I said, when God talks about the ostrich, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
You know, not that I think that of God, but what it tells me is this isn't something that I can get a handle on. And, you know, getting back to the Daniel conversation with sea money, this is exactly what Daniel keeps saying to him is you have to, how did he put it, Jeremy? Something about, well, the whole idea of grasping and having it's a fallacy, right?
Yes.
That you know, the idea that we can know something is it's really, I think I said the wrong title for his talk. The rational is not true. I think it's the true is not rational. I think
Yeah,
that's what,
I think that's it. Yeah, the true is not rational.
And so you have to be willing to let go of knowing, of certainty. And that is kind of what I'm hinting at when I'm saying you have to be able to walk out into the landscape of pain and suffering, because that is the worst form of not knowing. You know, like when I think about dying, I'm not afraid to be dead, but I'm afraid of dying because of the pain and the suffering. Okay. So, you know, for me, if I imagine myself dying, my best case scenario would be just like falling asleep and not waking up in the morning. But who knows?
Right.
But that's where the treasures lie, you know?
Yes.
And I mean that in you know, like I don't like ending on a bad note. So I have to say this, you know, John O'Donohue talks about the miracles on the deathbeds of people that he's been with that have happened. Miracles in his own life, miracles in their lives, miracles in the lives of their families, you know, that happen on their deathbeds. And the most, you know, the most beautiful experience, he says, is to spend time with someone on their deathbed. So there are treasures there. There just are. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to go stand before my bed as a coffin and pray that God will watch over me as I sleep. And if he calls me tonight, then may I be prepared. And if not, may I awake with gratitude for having another day to repent.
Yeah. You know, those prayers in Orthodoxy, which I was completely ignorant of for most of my life, they have given me the ability to literally jump out of bed and say glory to God.
Yep.
Got another day, folks. Make it count. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Jeremy.
a lot. Yep.
Bye.
Thanks. See ya.